In IELTS reading, the question and the passage rarely use the same words. Instead, they use different words with the same meaning. So, in this video, we look at important vocabulary from this passage and how it helps us match questions with answers. In the question, we may see the word contamination, but in the passage, the word used is pollution. Both mean something becomes dirty or harmful. So, contamination of the sea from waste is the same as pollution of the sea by humans. Next, we have reproduction. Another word for it is breeding. Spawn means to produce or release eggs, and it is also used as a synonym of reproduction. So, if we read corals spawn just once a year, that means they lay eggs once a year, or we can say they reproduce once a year. Coral spawning programs are research programs to increase reproduction of corals. When we say speed up reproduction, we can also say increase breeding rate. So, spawn, breeding, and reproduction all refer to the same idea. From this, we come to the word increase. Some similar words are rise or go up. Speed up means something happens faster, and expand means something becomes bigger. Thermal means related to heat. So, if there is thermal stress, it means damage caused by heat. In the same context, we see words like overheated, higher temperatures, increase in warmth, and rising temperatures. All of them convey the same idea. You may see one word in the question and a different word in the passage, but the meaning is the same. An important word that we see in this passage is symbiotic. A synonym is cooperation, which means both sides benefit. In the passage, we see a symbiotic relationship between algae and corals. This paragraph from the passage explains the idea. In a symbiotic relationship, both sides help each other, so we can use words like help, assist, provide, and support for the one that is giving something. For the other side, we can use words like gain, get, or receive a benefit. If we look at the example here, the algae get protection from the coral and the corals get nutrients from algae. So both sides benefit from each other. That is what we mean by a symbiotic relationship. A coral reef is basically a structure in the sea made by tiny animals, and they often look like colorful plants. Many sea creatures live in these structures. In the passage, there are many different ways coral reefs are referred to, and this becomes important when we are looking for answers. Sometimes they are just referred to as coral or reefs, and also as these wonders or these majestic sights. It is also explained that coral reefs are made of polyps, which are tiny sea animals. So sometimes, instead of directly saying coral reefs, the passage refers to them as polyps. Tentacles are long, flexible, arm like parts that some animals have for catching or holding things. Algae are very small plant like organisms. They are like the green layer we sometimes see in water or on wet surfaces. The passage is about the sea, so here are some words related to that. Some of these are also very common in other reading passages. Marine means anything related to the sea. So, marine creatures are sea creatures or sea animals. We also see phrases like beneath the waves, which means under the sea, and ocean bed, which means the bottom of the sea. Current is another word we see, which means the flow of water. So, ocean current is the way water flows in oceans. Species is a word we see very often in reading passages. It simply means types or kinds of living things. So, in this passage, we see coral species, which means different types of corals. Another important word is conservation, which means protection, usually of nature or the environment. So, conservationists are people who protect nature, and naturalists are people who study nature. The word planet is also used in the passage. Here, it simply refers to the earth. Sometimes the words in the question and the passage are not exactly the same, but the meaning is similar. For example, we may see changed sea conditions in the question, but in the passage we see warm acidic waters. Finally, cope is a very common word in reading passages. To cope means to manage or survive in a difficult situation. So, if the passage talks about corals that can cope well, it means hardy types of coral or corals that survive best. We see a lot of problem solution vocabulary in this passage. You can use these in your writing as well. When problems are mentioned, there are many different words used for them, such as threat, a menace, or a cause of damage. We may also see phrases like cause of the problem or harsh conditions, which means difficult conditions. For solutions, we can say ways or method to reduce or lessen problems. We also see cause effect language in the passage. Common phrases include as a result, lead to, and result in. One very useful word we see here is trigger. Instead of saying this happens and as a result that happens, we can say this triggers that. Now, for a few more synonyms that help us find answers. If you want to show disagreement, the passage may not directly say disagreement. Instead, it may use words like though or however and say an idea is dismissed by someone. Dismissed means not accepted or rejected. Phrase means a group of words. I'm mentioning it here because the word phrase helps us locate an answer in this passage. Sometimes, instead of saying something will happen in the future, the question may say further ahead, while the passage may say by 2050. Goal and aim mean the same thing. We can also express this idea in a simpler way by saying we want to do something. So instead of saying our aim is to do this, we can say we want to do this. To identify or to pinpoint something means to find something exactly or precisely. One interesting synonym we have here is remove and strip. To remove something is to strip it. In the passage, we also see the word bleach, which means to remove color, usually due to damage or a natural process. In daily life, we often use the word bleach for cleaning, like removing stains from clothes, but in this passage, it is used in the context of coral losing its color. Capture and collect have slightly different meanings, but they can sometimes be used in a similar way. Capture is usually used for catching animals, while collect means to gather things more generally. In this passage, instead of the word food, we see the phrase small marine creatures. Blighted means something that is badly damaged or destroyed. It is often used for places, crops, or environments, not usually for people. Restore means to bring something back to its original or a good condition. It is similar to repair. Alterations means changes. The phrasal verb we see here is carry out, which means something is done or conducted. So when we say Studies are carried out, it means studies are done or research is done. We also see some descriptive words in the passage. These are not necessarily for locating answers, but they are very useful to understand meaning, and you can also use them in your speaking. For example, there are many different ways used to say that something is beautiful or impressive. We see words like spectacular, wonderful, mind blowing, and majestic sights. All of these describe something that is very beautiful, grand, or impressive. So instead of always saying beautiful, you can use these stronger words. Another useful synonym we see is tiny and minuscule. Both mean very small. These may not directly help you find answers, but they help you understand the passage better, and they are very useful vocabulary for your speaking. If you want to see how these words are actually used to find answers, check the full reading solution. Link is in the description.